Something's going down in Scottish football at the moment. The league has of course been dominated by two teams for years and years. However, that's where we come in, and that's where Tony Bloom and data come in. So Tony Bloom is the owner of Brighton, and Brighton have shot up the table using data. He owns this company, Jamestown Analytics. They have been working with Hearts already, but now that's getting cranked up because he's got himself a big share of Hearts. So we're going to take over Hearts of Midlothian to try and break the domination of the big two. And we're going to do it with no attributes and just solely relying on data. Right, so today's task is pretty simple. We need to break that old firm dominance. That's not as easy as it seems, because as you can see from the past winners table, it's been Celtic and Rangers since 1984, and we haven't won a league title since 1960. So a great result for me would simply to be getting that top two and sandwiching between them. If we can push on and get a league title, my lord. So welcome to Hearts. We know it's going to be a big task, but we're up for it. So having landed at the club, well, the first thing I notice is the squad is pretty big. I mean, they've already got 5 goalkeepers in the first team squad, so we probably need to trim it down a bit, if anything. There are, of course, a few standout players. Lawrence Shankland will be leading the attack. He's got good finishing. And veteran goalkeeper Craig Gordon, at 40 years old, is the best of the bunch. So recently, when I've been doing these Moneyball videos, I start to make transfers straight away from day one. But I'm going to take a different approach this time and give them all a chance and not sign anybody in Season 1. However, there's a number of young players in the squad, such as Musa, who I do see promise in, and my coaches like him as well. Now him, along with a few others, will be loaned out to gain experience, and hopefully they'll make an impact next season. So we're not going to make any transfers Season 1, however, we are going to build a shortlist from day one to try and get talents ready for next season. And we're going to do that by sending our scouts all over the world. Then with the scout recommendations, we can build the shortlist. However, at the minute, my staff team is tiny. I need to build that first and foremost. So whenever I go for scouts, such as new scout Alan Roche, I do it based on one main factor, and it is where their knowledge is around the world. You can see here he's got France, Belgium, Spain, but even more interestingly, he's got knowledge of Africa, in the Ivory Coast and Senegal. Similar story for Henny Diret, the next scout. He's got unreal knowledge of Europe and many other places as well. He'll be very handy. The final scout I brought in was Aaron Lejean. I wanted him for his knowledge of the US, both North America and South as well. So once they were signed, I was able to set up their recruitment focuses based on their areas of expertise. For example, Henny Diret, the scout with knowledge of basically everywhere, and I've sent him to all of Northern Europe and then focusing deep on Belgium and Finland. And already he's starting to come up trumps, so I can build the shortlist. We've also got scout Alan Roche focusing in on Africa, and the recommendations from him are starting to come in as well. And the reason I'm setting that up so aggressive at the start is because we've got a pretty decent transfer budget of 4.5 million. So I need to build a tactic for this team, and the squad are pretty well rounded, but there is a lot of wingers, so it's oozing a 4-4-2 variation. So I've created a 4-4-2, but it's a kind of funky one with some interesting roles. We've got what seems to be a pretty standard back four, with one fullback more attacking than the other. That's because in front of him he's got a wide playmaker, a player that will drift around and spend a lot of the time in field. Therefore, the fullback will overlap him and provide the width. On the other side, I've got a defensive winger. Now, defensive wingers aren't defensive like the name suggests. They spend a lot of the time up here pressurising the opposition fullback. If they win it back, then they can cross the ball in. Central midfield, we've got a holder who will win the ball back and one more advanced to back up the strikers. Up front, the combination of a pressing forward who will pressurise the defence and an advanced forward who will hopefully be the main goal getter. Mentality wise, I'm going to start an awful lot of the matches with an attacking mentality. Obviously, when we come to Rangers and Celtic, that'll probably drop down to cautious. You'll notice I've only got a few players selected so far. Craig Gordon, the experienced goalkeeper. Right back, Christian Bodge-Grevnik. Reason for that is the only one I've got. Defensive midfielder, Cameron Devlin. When you're playing this way, it's always hard to decide who starts when you don't know the players. However, when you look at his abilities, he's got several in excellent range in terms of bravery, tackling, work rate. He just oozes defensive midfielder. The next thing you do is you go to your coach report, and then you can just have a little look at the pros. You can see he's already a good Premiership player, so he's going to be fine, and he's got a lot of pros that fit the bill, including consistency, relish in big matches. He just looks like an ideal starter. The final thing you want to look at is your squad comparison over here, and you can see that he compares well to the other options. And one last thing on the squad comparison tool, if you go up here, select the drop down, you can compare him to defensive midfielders or any other position you're thinking of playing him in. And the final player that's guaranteed starting is Lawrence Shankland. I looked at him quickly before. You can see his finishing stands out an absolute mile. And again, when you go to the coach report, he's just our best striker by an absolute mile. The rest of the positions I'll try and decide through pre-season, which I'm already deep into, but it's fair to say there will be a large degree of rotation in the early season. In an ideal world, this is how the tactic looks. You can see the two central midfielders there holding their position. This guy will break forward. Now up here we've got the defensive winger. Interestingly, down here though, wide playmaker, fullback on attack. So he's going to overlap him at some point in this move. As the ball comes across now, you can see Forrest, the wide playmaker, drifting inside. And here goes my fullback on attack to supply the final cross. The league season began with a great performance away at Livingston, where we created an absolute bucket full of chances. Our first big test came in the second game of the season as we played Rangers at home and got the early lead through Musa. And shockingly, on 50 minutes, we took a 2-goal lead as the defensive winger whipped it across and Shankland was there. Rangers got one back on 51. But in a really tight match, we held out and take the win 2-1. What followed was a slightly disappointing home draw against St Mirren, but we were finding our feet in this tactic really quickly. And in the next match against Kilmarnock, Shankland up front got himself a hat-trick. Then our next big test came with Celtic coming to Tynecastle, and we shocked the Old Firm again with the right back once again supplying the finish for Braga as we eke out a 1-0 win. In fact, the start of the season had been unreal. The only team to stop us in our flow was Rangers as we lost 2-1 at Ibrox, a game in which new Rangers striker Diego Costa scored the first. Yep, Diego Costa's at Rangers. But 12 games in, so far so good, we're sitting second in the league just behind Celtic. We got to the semi-finals of the League Cup as well, but Rangers have just knocked us out. Up until the midpoint of the season, we were playing really well. There was a couple of annoying defeats like this one to St Mirren and another to Dundee United. But overall, we were performing really well, and I was getting a good idea now of what players are going to stay with us throughout this journey. For example, striker Lawrence Shankland has been ridiculously good. I mean, absurd. First of all, he scored 30 times in 23 matches, and that's reflected in his data chart, with the massive headliner being goals at 1.31. I don't think I'll find that anywhere else in this entire database. So most of the time, my first 11s looked like this. We knew he was going to start, being the only out-and-out right-back at the club. Borch Grevnik, 7 assists so far in 23 matches, good overall record. You can see he's concentrating on attack because the defensive side of the game is kind of non-existent. But that's why we've got the defensive midfielder on his side of the pitch. This is Cameron Devlin, and he's doing all the dirty work, letting all the other players bomb forward. He's winning plenty of tackles, he's not giving the ball away, and he's progressing the passing nicely. At centre-back, Craig Halkett has been solid as a rock, winning a bunch of headers and winning the ball back. So overall, at the midway point of the season, I really can't argue. We've played a couple more matches than them, but we are sandwiched right in between Celtic and Rangers. Right, team. I won't lie, that's gone better than I thought. But what we can do now is, with a few months of data behind us, I can start to judge my players to push on for this season, and I can start to see which positions we will need to strengthen in the summer, so we can potentially start building a thorough shortlist. So we can now look to replace some of these players in the summer. And it may be harsh because the team are performing well, but we need to push on if we're to break this dominance. Pressing forward, Braga up front with Shankland is just not scoring goals. He's only scored 2 times in 21 starts, and you can see that there. Defensively he's doing great, but I just need a bit more. The key position out wide is a wide playmaker. He's kind of getting lost in the shuffle bit, Alan Forrest. He's only got 5 goal contributions in 25 matches, and I'm not really sure what he's doing. Now, it may be that we could change the role, potentially matching up a defensive winger, but I don't really need to because the fullback's playing so well, so it could be a change of personnel. At centre-back, Frankie Kent is just not playing as well as Halkett. He's kind of getting overshadowed big time. Volante is a tricky one as well. At the minute, I've got Callum Neuvenhoff playing there. Now, Volante is a bit of a combination of an attacking midfielder and a defensive midfielder. In some aspects, he's doing pretty well, but in some he's not. And his goal and assist ratio, I'm just not getting enough goal contributions from 19 matches, so that might be a position we look at. Bit of an unsung hero has been the defensive winger, Sander Carton. He's got 8 assists, 4 goals, so 12 goal contributions in 22 matches, and you can see he puts pressure on defence because he's got 9 yellow cards and 1 red. As far as his data, I'm going to class him as an attacking midfielder, but you could also class him as a defensive midfielder as well, but we'll look at him as an attacking midfielder. His expected assists are great, he's getting plenty of shots away. I'd like to see more dribbles, but maybe that'll change if I change him to a normal winger. Overall though, team for the rest of the season is set in place, they're looking good, and we're still not going to sign anybody yet. So it's this point where the scouting becomes even more crucial because we're planning for the end of the season and building that shortlist. And on that, when you've got your scouting range as world, you will have things pop up into your inbox such as this, asking if you want to scout random competitions in random countries you may not normally keep an eye on, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And it's already thrown up a couple from the African Super League there. You can see Abubakar Nazir, he's on my shortlist. Overall, I'm very happy with the way the recruitment focuses are looking, and it's helped me build a pretty substantial shortlist already. Into the second half of the season, we got some big wins, including a 2-1 away win at Celtic. But we did get some annoying defeats as well that we should have done better at, including this random humbling by Dundee. A game that might have convinced Craig Gordon to finally call it a day at 41 because he's retiring at the end of the season. That being said, overall though, the second half of the season was fine. Got to the Championship group and we finished the season in third position, behind Rangers and way behind runaway title winners Celtic, who gained 100 points. However, if you do look at it closely, you will see we are comfortably the best of the rest, finishing a whopping 17 points clear of fourth placed St Mirren. And it looks even better when you consider that after a pretty comfortable route through the Scottish Cup, we make the final against Rangers coming up. So can we get a bonus piece of silverware in our first season in Scotland? My big issue is both my starting centre-backs and defensive midfielder are all suspended or injured. My lord, this game was a drab affair. 0-0 going into extra time, then Rangers finally took the lead through Max Aarons. However, my boys get the equaliser in the 113th minute thanks to defensive wingers Cross and Shankland there again. So it's heading to penalties, it's 120th minute, our mistake from the throw. Goes to Ridvan. Are you kidding me? So close to a dream first season by getting a trophy, but the good thing is we have had a good season, so there is a nice basis to build on. And now the fun part, we can start making moves in this transfer market using Mr. Tony Bloom's analytic approach to improve this squad and push on. And we've got quite a bit to work with. Those players you see in the starting 11 are the ones I'm definitely happy with. There might be one or two more, but 6 out of the 11 is not bad, so I'm looking at 5 positions I definitely want to strengthen. I literally can't improve on Shankland up front. At this level, 43 goals in 43 matches. Just outstanding. He definitely needs a partner though, that's one we're going to look at. On the wing, we need competition for Carton, but he definitely will start next season. And I'm very happy with central midfielder Devlin. He's just a nasty man in that central midfield, exactly what we need. Now right back's an interesting one. Borj Grevnik, great, 14 assists all season, but he does need competition. And I need a centre back partner for the excellent Craig Halkett. That is outstanding, he's even a threat going forward from corners. So notepads at the ready, this is what I'm looking for. A brand new defender who will match up well with Halkett, competition for both full-back positions right and left. A new goalkeeper, central midfielder, I want a box-to-box style midfielder to back up the strikers, a wide playmaker or a wide midfielder, we may change the role there, and definitely a striker who can take some of the pressure off Shankland to score some goals. And this is where all that prep work, setting up those recruitment focuses and building this shortlist should, in theory, come in handy for Season 2. So going into Season 2, the goal was simple, improve on last season's performance. I've identified the gaps in the team that I'm looking to improve, and building that shortlist has came up trumps because we've got some big time targets now. I've got bids in for 6 or 7 players. So a strike partner for Shankland was a priority. One option I've gone for is Sharani Zuberu. So he's 24 years old, used mostly off the bench by his club last season, but he still managed 10 goals, and as you can see from his data chart, he gets his shots away and he scores a lot of goals and contributes assists. He could be the perfect foil for Shankland. Currently playing for Slovan Bratislava. He's an out of contract player, so it's an absolute no risk move. I'm also looking for players for both wings, a playmaker option and potentially someone to put pressure on Khartoum. Sami Castello covers both bases, he can play either side. Now he's currently playing in Malaysia with Johor and he's had a good season, but the thing with Castello is he's got good pedigree. He used to play for AC Milan amongst other teams, loads of pros, already a standout for what we've got. Another option will be Hugo Palacios, a 27-year-old winger. This season from an attacking standpoint, he's had a good overall season with plenty of assists. And if you remember, that was the big slight against Alan Forrest. He's had a good season, but not contributing as much as he could from an attacking standpoint. Also looking for a midfield partner for Devlin in central midfield. And believe it or not, this has led me to the UAE. This is Azajon Janiev. He's 26 years old and he's had a good time over there this season with 9 assists and 6 goals. And if you look at him from a defensive standpoint, really good, and an attacking standpoint as well, putting the numbers in. Again, he's out of contract. The perfect option could be Simon Alexander Santos Langbo. Now he's had 28 appearances this season, 4 goals. His data chart tells me he hasn't been the most attacking defender, but defensively pretty solid. What appeals the most is though that he can play both positions and even jump into centre back if needed. I'm also keeping an eye on the development centre because Hearts do have a great youth system, including the outrageous 15-year-old Alfie Hutchinson, who's already valued between 650 and 6.6 million. But like a lot of these players, it's probably a year or two early, but they would be a great long-term save if you're looking for one. But we'll keep an eye on them to see if they can contribute to the squad at some point. So we had a hell of a time with work permits, but everybody got given one. Fantastic. Including the late signing of 22-year-old centre-back Marvel. And with all this going on, the scouts were still recommending me random players such as Eduardo Aguirre, who plays for Athletic San Luis. And striker Lawrence Shankland only went and won the Adidas Golden Shoe as well. Holy moly. His outstanding season has seen his value rocket to 17.5 to 19 million. It'll be interesting to see if anybody comes in for him. So it's important when doing this style of save that when players come up, you add them to the shortlist. Even if you've already recruited, keep an eye on them and see how they do. You want to keep that shortlist strong, and as you can see from mine, I've got a rake of A+ players, so we'll see how they do for another season to see if they maintain form for 2 seasons rather than just 1. We're in mid-June now and some of our signings are getting confirmed. Remember I talked about Marvel? Well, the scouts absolutely loved him. Top speed allows him to pace players over longer sprints, and then his squad comparison puts him even ahead of Craig Halkett. His history is interesting. He started at Real Madrid, actually played 6 games for them in La Liga before joining Leganes last season. Great season, we pick him up on a free. Craig Gordon retired, but I replaced him with 2 players. First, Venezuelan international Moises Ramirez. I was told by my scouts I had to sign this man, and you can see why. And another free transfer in Angus Gunn. I've got 2 good goalkeepers now competing for that number 1 spot. Going into the new season, the pre-season odds had us in 3rd, but at 50 to 1. That is wild how far behind Celtic and Rangers they think we are. Financially, we're in a good spot with 17 million in the bank. It's given us a really good transfer budget if we need to make any last-minute signings. With players continuing to leave, we've made a decent amount of money now. More of our players came through the door on July the 1st. It means the team looks pretty strong going into the new season. I think it's better than last season, so it bodes well. And the last thing to do before the season gets started is to have a little cheeky look at the free transfer market. This is where we can't judge it on player data because they haven't got any, because they've just been released. And a lot of the players like Patrick Bamford have not even played last season. So it would be a bit of a punt, but you can do it on a combination of judging on ability and asking your scout for a scout report. But there is a few there that definitely tempt me. And annoyingly, Celtic were doing the same thing by offering Luis Suarez a contract. 37-year-old Suarez from Inter Miami might be on his way to the SPL. I tried to hijack it. Yeah. Instead, I bowed to temptation and I've picked up Patrick Bamford. I see it as a no-risk move. He'll probably be injured half the time, but his wages weren't that bad. Right, a big summer in terms of transfers. Some very Brighton-esque signings from all over the world, some obscure nations and leagues. But very happy with the squad now. All that's left to do is see how we do in Season 2. Can we close that gap? So we started the season well and 2 new signings gave us a win over Rangers. Second game of the season we beat Rangers at Ibrox thanks to Segunde Valente Ganiev and striker Bamford in the 93rd minute. The risk of signing Bamford looked like it was going to pay off as he scored 4 times in the Europa League against Lask. So far this season he's been pretty damn good, scoring 12 times in 29 matches and an overall striker performance to die for. The start of the season was really good. We went undefeated all the way up until late September. We even had a game against Juventus at Tynecastle, equalising in the 94th minute through Shankland. But those extra Europa League games were starting to catch up with us a little bit. Following the loss to Newcastle, we lost against rivals Celtic and very frustratingly away at Dundee. However, on the way to the midpoint of the season, we have turned things around really well, including going to Celtic Park and beating them 3-1 with 2 goals from Bamford. And that means at the halfway point of the season, we are second in the table. We are splitting Rangers and Celtic, but it's very, very tight this time. Problem is we're getting some big injuries, and specifically to our fullbacks. Bocgrevnik looks like he's going to miss the season for 8 months. And defensive winger Cartum, who can also play fullback, he's going to miss 3 months. So I've got a bid in for Adam Anderson, either fullback position or defensive winger, with a heap of pros. And I'm also capitalising on the Japanese league season ending by signing Shogo Asada on a free transfer. Here's a guy who can play centre-back or left-back, and he has absolutely excelled this season, so he's going to come in on a free transfer. Now, I don't have a lot of cover for Ganiev and Devlin in central midfield, so I've got a bid in for Colombian Robert Meyer for 600,000 to cover in defensive midfield. Speaking of defensive midfield, Ganiev, who we brought in to give us a more attacking outlet from Secunde Volante, has done just that, with 12 assists and 8 goals in his 30 matches. And we've got the attacking output we wanted from our playmaker from Castello, who's got 0.33 assists, 7 assists, 5 goals this season. Do you know what? This could be a big opportunity. It's not often you get into Season 2 in Scotland and Celtic and Rangers are kind of flailing around a bit, especially Celtic. We need to capitalise. We're into the second half of the season, and unfortunately the Europa League proved a bit too much for us. We weren't humiliated, only 3 defeats, but we just drew too many matches. But the big news was the momentum we were generating in the second half of the season. We only lost 1 match to Rangers, and this took us into the Championship group where we battered Celtic 3-1. Zaberi scored twice there. I've used him as a bit of an impact player, but he scored 13 goals in 13 starts. He's done exactly what he did at his old club, but for us. And to be honest, he's had to, because Shankland has just dropped off a little bit. He still scored 25 goals this season, but he's nowhere near as prolific as he was last year. And Bamford? You guessed it, he started to get injured and he missed 2 months of the season with a knee ligament injury. He's on his way back now. He has scored 15 in 39, so he's been a good foil for the front guys. When my first 11 played, it looked a bit like that. One of the signings of the season's got to be Santos Lingbo, who's came in with 14 assists from fullback. Thank you, Indonesian knowledge. And the player we brought in January, Anderson, has been insane as an attacking left wing back. Not forgetting goalkeeper Moises Ramirez, who got voted in as the best goalkeeper in the league, and you can see why. I mean, he was also a hero in the Scottish Cup semi-final. He saved 2 penalties for us against St Mirren, as we hit up our second successive Scottish Cup final. So we've made it into our second successive Cup final. It's not Rangers this time, it's Celtic. And then, after 29 minutes, off the ref trotted. 5 hours later he came back with a decision. Shankland stepped up and hammered it home. Celtic have got some side now though, and on 57 minutes they equalised through Sealamakers, who they got from Milan. But on the 89th minute we capitalised with pressure on the defence, and Bamford went through and gave us a famous victory as we take down the Scottish Cup. But let's talk about the league campaign, because this insane run has meant something pretty special. The goal of this save was to break up the big 2. Can you believe your eyes when you see this? Top 3, all on identical points, 83. It goes down to the final game of the season. We've scored as many goals as Celtic, but we've conceded more than the other 2 teams. Don't let this end this way, please. We've probably got the toughest match of the 3 as well, as we play Aberdeen away from home. So it's the big decider. We go against Aberdeen. Castello, like he has done so much this season, provides the key pass, and Shankland put us in front. In the second half, we carried on the onslaught. We win 2-0, but so do Rangers and Celtic. As the season finishes with 3 teams tied on 86 points, Celtic take it on goal difference. I mean, we've got the Scottish Cup, I should be happy. We're level on points with Celtic and Rangers, and we still finish behind them. What? It's hard to know what to say to the boys. They've been absolutely fantastic. We're basically in the top 3 all season, and late in the season we led the league and nearly took it. That 3-1 defeat was the only thing that stopped us getting on top of the old firm. Now, if I do brush myself down and carry this on and try and break the old firm after that disappointment, there are some transfers ready to come in. I just need to take my shell-shocked ass away for a while and have a little think. Last time with Hearts, well, this happened, and I don't think I'm quite over it yet. But I'm not a quitter, so I've decided to brush myself down, line up some new signings, all based on the data, and the plan now is to slot them into this team with a couple of tweaks to try and topple Celtic. Okay, so we've got these players lined up. We've got a right wing back, a couple of attacking midfielders and one striker. Pedro Mendes is the striker. Particularly excited to see how he does. He's got a good goal record and the scouts have done well because he's playing in Serie C for Ascoli. He's scored a bucketful there, so it's going to be a step up, so we'll wait and see on that one. So at this point, I think it's important to recognise that not all Moneyball signings do work out. Don't get me wrong, most of them have. They've been pretty successful and I've been delighted with the impact they've made. Probably highlighted by the signing of Semen Lingbo. If you remember, he came from Indonesian football and he's been pretty elite, one of the best fullbacks in the league. And for some reason, the game just won't accept it because they won't up his value from 140k, even though he's probably worth at least 10 times that. But not all have worked out, such as Hugo Palacios. When he has played, he hasn't really given me what I'm looking for from an attacking midfielder, so you can't hit it out the park every time. Having said that, I'm excited what these boys will give us, so I'm going to have a little look at the tactic and see what tweaks we can make to try and push on. But let's be real, there isn't a lot wrong, is there? 86 points, I mean, that is so unlucky. So I don't want to make too many changes because we are flying still. I need to put things into perspective and this team have got us far. If we can improve it here and there, that'll be great. So standout players that are on our way in. We've took a bit of a punt on Shiloh Zands. He's coming from Feyenoord. He hasn't played many matches. It's hard to judge what he's going to be yet, but when you look at his abilities, there are some in that key excellent range, such as technique, and he was a scout suggestion, and when they chuck an A rating at me, I'm going to pay attention. Now, he's an exciting talent. He's already got a cap for Holland, so I'm surprised that Feyenoord are letting his contract run out. I think he's worth a shot. I've also got a player coming in from Cape Town Spurs. So this is Luke Bartman. He's a bit of an attacking midfielder, I think. He can either play on the right or as a striker. More of a winger. I'm going to probably retrain him to be a more withdrawn winger. Now, in situations like this, when you're not sure what position he's been playing, so you don't know if he's been a striker or has he been an attacking midfielder, I'm just going to judge him on the all metrics and just have a little look around here. So I'm not going to compare him to other players in the same position. I can see he's got a decent range of assists at 0.2, a decent range of goals, and he gets his shots away, some good dribbles. If I was to compare him to attacking midfielders, it doesn't look quite as impressive, but remember, he's 18 and I don't have the data on where he's playing yet. When it comes to the team, the big position I probably need to improve is the left wing, because the other positions that supply assists, such as the right-sided wide playmaker, the two fullbacks, and the volante, they're doing their job, because if you go to assists per 90 minutes, in the top 10 or so, there's our left back, there's our wide playmaker, our volante, and our right back. So the guys I want to create chances are doing just that. The player that wasn't there, however, was the defensive winger. So if I can get someone in there to match these guys, then our chance ratio should increase. So I'd say I'm happy with my transfer business. That hasn't stopped me adding to the shortlist though, and it is getting pretty extensive now. And there's some players on there that are playing in Brazilian football whose contract will be out in January, so they might be an option to sign. So I'm just keeping them on the shortlist to see how their data looks, such as Marcus Paulo, who could be an option for the wing. Tactic is set. I have made a couple of tweaks to it to try and get the best out of some players. I've changed the two centre-back positions to ball-playing defenders. That's because Marvel, the centre-back, is incredibly impressive on the ball. He's got a good first touch and he's good at passing. It just seems to be the right move for him. And Shogo Asada, who joined us late last season, is a similar story. He's going to be our starting centre-back and he's a good player on the ball. I've also changed Castello's position slightly from wide playmaker to wide midfield. This is because I wasn't getting the most out of him in terms of crossing. Apparently he's a great crosser of the ball. We can't see his attributes, but I'm going to trust the coach's opinion. We get a rough guide here. You can see they're in good range for crossing, good technique. It just seems the right thing to do. Now, I have added some player instructions to make him a bit more playmaker-esque, so a bit of a hybrid. He's got more direct passes, take more risks, get him crossing more often and dribbling more, because we want to take advantage of that pace. So wide playmakers kind of stop that from happening. So if he's going to lock down the right-hand side, it means my fullback can actually cut inside of it when he gets the ball, and he'll be the one to go in there. So to do that, we've included cut inside with ball. He will stay wider, but when he gets the ball, then he'll cut in. And as you can see, the one position I'm not completely happy with is that defensive winger down that left-hand side. I've got a lot of options, I just need to work out who's going to be the starter. Now, pre-season began and it looked good. The two strikers I started with were Shankland and Mendes. They seem to have a good little link-up. Both scoring in this friendly win against Besiktas, Mendes scoring twice. And just like that, it was the start of the league campaign. Our first game, unbelievably, was Celtic, so this will be a good test. Now, it was at home at Tynecastle, so I was hoping not to lose. That's the main goal, but Castello with another assist, dropping inside, and Shankland finished it off. An opening day win against our big rivals is the perfect start. Now this season we do compete in the Europa League as well. That could make things a little bit more complicated. We actually got a very impressive two-leg win over Besiktas, winning 2-0 in Turkey with goal from Mendes and Bamford. And so far we'd had the perfect start, but there's a hell of a long way to go. Especially when you come crashing back down to earth by getting a 4-1 battering by mighty Dunfermline. And we put a good account of ourselves up in our first Europa League campaign, just losing to Newcastle, but also winning 6-0 and 4-1 in successive home games, meaning it looks like we're going to qualify having won 3 out of 6. In the league, we had a bit of a patchy run, but at the midpoint of the season, it seems everyone's had a patchy run because we are joint top with Celtic despite losing 5 matches because they've also lost 3 as well. Squad check, the biggest success story so far has been Pedro Mendes, who just gave me an unbelievable all-round pressing forward performance. That is jaw-dropping. 14 goals in 30 matches in his debut season. Janiev, again, fantastic. Whether you class him as a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder, 14 goal contributions in 22 matches and a great overall performance. Asada at the back has been an absolute rock, winning a ton of headers and winning the ball back a heap. And because we're such an attacking team, it's a good job we've got Moises Ramirez preventing a ton of goals at 0.27. Most of the time that's been the starting 11. That switch for Castello in terms of role and player instructions has hit the jackpot. He's having a great season again. As are the 2 fullbacks, elite from Anderson and again from Lingbo, and yep, his value still won't go up. And the good news is they've got great backup in Musa Wig, the signing in the summer. When he's played, he's been great as well. The big issue I've got is in central midfield, not with performances of Cameron Devlin, but he's had 11 yellow cards and 1 red in 18 matches. The guy's a lunatic. Thankfully the backup in Robert Majer's brilliant as well because he wins a ton of tackles. So the changes we've made to the tactics seem to be working. The only slight worry I've got is the extra games because of our Europa League success. Is it going to bite us in the ass as it comes to the running? So with the extra games at this point of the season, I thought it was a good idea to reconsult that shortlist and check out some players who are about to get quite cheap. No cheaper than Marcus Paulo, who is literally out of contract in 1 day's time, and we have been following his progress. He scored 16 goals, 6 assists in 34 matches. Problem is, the team he's playing for, Boa Vista, are at such a small level, it's tricky to scout. I haven't got full data on him, he might be worth a punt though. I'm just thinking he could be the guy to solve our wide left midfield problem position. And when I sent my scouts over there, I was convinced. Pacey, consistent, enjoys big matches, let's get him in. So he joined on yet another free transfer. That's a player from Brazil, from the Israel leagues, from Turkey's lower leagues, the Netherlands, Greece, and the Italian lower leagues this season. Total outlay, big fat 0. Outgoings, well, Patrick Bamford's just hit 32. He wasn't really playing for me, he hadn't scored any goals this season, so I've shipped him off to Aberdeen and they can cover his wages. I mean, I'd absolutely love it if they spent that on him, but I don't think they will. The second half of the season began with a Europa League game in the Netherlands against AZ Alkmaar. Janiev put us in front, and late in the game, Shankland, still scoring goals, sealed a big win for us. We followed that up with a big 4-0 win over Ludogorets, which meant we qualified pretty comfortably in 12th position, winning 5 out of our 8 matches. I'd also taken the time to lock in some transfers ready for next season from players that were impressing me in terms of data. I've bought in a lot of foreign players, so I wanted a Scot, and Abayan Bowett's playing away at Portsmouth, but he's winning the ball back an absolute ton, winning plenty of headers, and he hardly loses the ball at all. And this might be a good pickup as well. Bailey Rice is playing for Rangers B team. He can't get a game. As a defensive midfielder, solid. I haven't got full stats on him, but that's enough to convince me. Plus the scouts liked him, and he's another Scot, so in he comes. And we like to get a bit funky with our signings, and that's what I've done here with Sufanat Muianta. He's in Thailand, scoring goals, 14 in 28 this season for Buriram United. And do you know what? His data backs him up, so I think it's a no-risk punt. The next one I'm certain will be a good signing, Robert Bojanic from Stoke in the English Championship. Despite being out of contract in the summer, his value is still 6.2 to 7.8 million. He scored 15 in 24 this season, a great 0.76 goal ratio. And although we've got some good strikers at the club, it's good to get some young ones to put a bit of pressure on them. Back to the season in the Europa League knockouts, we knocked out Sparta Prague, which led us to a tricky last 16 tie up against Marseille. Now in the home game, it was a bit tricky. We got 1 goal back late on. We lost in the away leg 2-0, but it was a hell of a good run. It was a bit of a rough season in the Cups because local rivals Hibs knocked us out for League Cup. And in the semi-finals of our Scottish Cup, Aberdeen knocked us out 3-2. Diata with the goal there. That's a nice little signing, Aberdeen. Fair play. But in better news, the league form was pretty good. This included our best result since taking charge of Hearts as we smashed Celtic 4-1 at Tynecastle, but annoyingly lost the very next match at home to Kilmarnock. And late in the season, here is how it sits, and it looks so much like last season. It's deja vu. Celtic 60 points, Rangers 60 points, and there's us with 59. Not again, not again. It's going down to the wire yet again. I just hope we do not blow it this time. A big factor in our success in the league has been Marcus Paulo. That risk was well worth it. In his 23 matches so far, that performance is outrageous. I'm classing him as an attacking midfielder, but even if he was a defensive midfielder, it's fantastic. Played every match in that defensive midfield slot there. 7 assists, 3 goals is just what we needed. And as we went into the championship group, the vital fixtures, he was proven to be a big factor, combining down the left-hand side with fullback Anderson to lay on yet another goal. Also stepping up big time in the second half of the season was goal machine Sharani Zuberu. Now this guy's one of those players who just seems to perform better off the bench. He gave us another big win in the championship group over St Mirren, and with Celtic losing to Rangers, we'd snuck ahead and we've gone top by 2 points with only 3 games to go. And the run-in, well, it looks a little bit like this. Rangers, Kilmarnock, Celtic. What could possibly go wrong? In that match against Rangers, well, Marcus Paulo was there again. Not providing an assist this time, but instead banging that boomer in. Seriously, what a finish. That gave us a massive 3-1 win. In the very next match, Elite Segunde Volante Janiev scored 2. And out of nowhere, unsung hero left-back Anderson scored as well, as we got revenge on Kilmarnock. Meanwhile, Rangers were falling to bits. And then something crazy happened. St Johnstone v Celtic, the 31st minute. Lazatek scored that. Celtic dropped to a shock defeat, which meant we'd actually done it. We've beat Celtic to the Premiership title with a game to spare. That of course meant we went to our last game of the season against Celtic, already champions. And it meant on their home ground, Celtic actually gave us a blooming guard of honour. What a beautiful thing that is. Lap it up, my man, lap it up. After a hard night of partying, they battered us 3-0, but who cares? Because Hearts are champions of Scotland. I'm guessing Shankland heard about the new signings coming in because he stormed it late in the season. Mendes was quality throughout as well. One of the unsung heroes was probably Shogo Asada. We're so attacking, but as centre-back he was rock solid. And it helps that I've got a hell of a good goalkeeper. And talk about consistency, Janiev in defensive midfield, the attacking of the two. Last season, 8 goals, 9 assists. This season, same again. Right, that is a stunning season. We've done it. We have toppled Celtic and Rangers. We have toppled them. We are the number 1 team, for this season at least, in the SPL. However, I think we're going to go again. We should have a little bit more money, and I fancy a little Champions League run to see what we can do. To prep us for more games, I've got even more signings ready for the new season. This is centre-back Cas Orenthal. He's had a season at Sassuolo, pretty decent as well. Winning the ball back, winning in his headers. Competition for left-back in Brandon Fleming is going to come in from Hull City. Good all-round performance, nothing spectacular, but solid. One for the future, but I couldn't resist. Modo Niang comes in from Africa. He signed from US Gori in Senegal. And I actually spent money, 1.2 million on Nemanja Motika. 19 goal contributions this season. He plays in Slovenia for Olimpia. The reason I signed him was he can play any of the wings or even up front. So that's going to be quality, and we need the numbers when it comes to the Champions League. Now this squad's getting a little bit big, so it's probably time to get rid of some players as well. And a couple of the players just didn't work out, even if they were signed on data, such as Marco Tullio. Another flop has been Palacios. Good first season for Bamford, but he's kind of aged out at 32, so he'll be sold as well. Got to quickly show you our potential last signing though. Jafar Shanaishil is a goalkeeper, and I haven't seen expected goals prevented as good as that for a long time. Season previews in, and they expect a return to form. Let's prove them wrong, shall we? And yet again, not one player in the Dream 11. Give me a break, man. One thing's for sure, this squad now is absolutely stacked. And it'll need to be because we've got 4 competitions to fight for this season. And it's nice to see we've got Hearts into the top 100 in Europe. Small steps and all that. So you can see the increase in player standards we've managed to draw in, probably thanks to the Champions League and that little bit of extra money, but we are still finding players from random parts of the world, which I'm dead happy about. Right, on to the season. Let's see if we can maintain this. We came out of the blocks well, things looked good, confidence was still high from last season. In fact, we started the season so well we made the League Cup final, and Castello scored the winner against Rangers. get in, that's the first time we've won the League Cup. We're making our debut in the Champions League and we beat Ajax 4-3 away from home. The highlight of our run so far though is when Napoli came to Tynecastle and we beat them 2-0. So far, after 6 matches in the Champions League, we've won 3, beaten Napoli, Ajax and Copenhagen, only losing the 1 match, a heavy defeat to Marseille, but we're looking good to qualify. And at times in the league we've carried on that form, smashing 7 past Motherwell. Moentes took a little while to get going though, he's not really scoring as many goals as I would have liked. In fact, the extra competition has brought out the best in Lawrence Shankland, who is our top scorer yet again. At the halfway point of the league season, we are sat second behind a resurgent Celtic, but we do have a game in hand, so we're not too far off them. Mid-season, I am overjoyed with this. I'm not sure where it's going to end up in Europe. Going into the second half of the season, our usual standout players are performing. Like defensively, we've been really good. The surprising thing has actually been attacking. We're creating lots of chances from the likes of Castello. 14 goals and 13 assists, by the way. He has been the player of the season by a mile. And the fullbacks are doing their job as well. It's the strikers that are letting me down at the minute, and I've got some good ones. They're just taking a little while to settle. But for the first time, we are in every competition we have entered, so let's see what the second half of the season brings. After a couple of defeats to PSG and Liverpool, we scraped through the qualifiers in 24th position. It's meant our bank balance is bloody huge now, so the board will be happy. We got RB Leipzig in the knockouts. They are just too much for us though. We went out 6-2 on aggregate after a great fight. However, our form domestically has been superb in the second half of the season. We're trying our best to catch Celtic, who are having an unreal season, having only lost 1 match. At the minute, we're 9 points behind though. We have to beat them next time we play them. And in an epic tussle, which was 3-2, Bosniak finally came up trumps. Now that's a massive win. And following that, we just kept on winning. And funnily enough, we will meet Celtic in the cup final coming up as well. Rangers did us a favour by beating Celtic with a 92nd minute winner, which meant with 1 game to go, we are 3 points behind Celtic. Yep, our next match is Celtic away. Unfortunately, we need to beat them by around 20 goals. To be fair though, I shouldn't have doubted Shankland. He's come back with his best season yet. 36 goals in 48 matches, and most of them have been in the league. Look at that. Despite good performances from all of our new signings, seriously, some of them were great. We went to Celtic in a game needing 20 goals and it ended 0-0, meaning Celtic do indeed reclaim the league title, but I can't be more proud of the boys. Second in the table, and we're firmly established now as one of the top teams. But wait, there is still a chance to get a double in terms of cups. Let's do this. So into the final we went and Shankland gave us the lead from the penalty spot, but Celtic equalised, sending it to extra time. We were looking good in extra time, and then absolute disaster as a through ball from Celtic, Lingbo from fullback, adjudged for a straight red card. So it's time to try and survive until penalties. But then, on the counter-attack, that's my left back Anderson. There's no one near him. He's run out of gas. He's still going. Absolute scenes. Anderson scores after 119 minutes, giving Hearts a famous victory. That means we've rescued the season by claiming a cup double. That's not a bad season for the boys. And our time at Hearts looks a little bit like this. 3rd in the first season, then that heartbreaking 3rd place finish, but with a cup win. Last season, the big one, winning the SPL. And this season, we finished 2nd by just 3 points, but we do claim a famous cup double. So 4 seasons done with Hearts, I'm happy with that. We made some interesting signings from all over the world thanks to those data scouts. God bless them. And fair play to this man. He was there from day one and he's there at the end.